Dog with strange bionic legs is leaving people completely bewildered. But before we start, please make sure to subscribe to M&R TV and hit the bell so you never miss any upload from us. Also, leave a like right now. When we hear the word bionic, it's easy to imagine superhumans who are more machine than man, like the Bionic Woman or Iron Man. Thanks to comic books and movies, this is just what the word is associated with these days. But have you ever heard of a bionic dog? You might not be able to picture it, but there's at least one dog on Earth who certainly has made a name for himself in this regard. When you hear his story, you'll understand why people all over the globe are being inspired. Meet Nakio. He's a lot like other dogs when it comes to playing catch and getting lots of cuddles. But there's one thing about him that really sets him apart from other pups. He's the world's first ever bionic dog. When Nakio was a puppy, he was found by his owner, Christy, frozen and stuck in a puddle of icy water outside. He was still alive, but barely. Christy rushed him to the nearest animal hospital with the hope that she could save his life. Fortunately, the doctors at the animal hospital were able to save Nakio, though he lost part of each of his limbs. After that, he wasn't able to move around easily and he spent much of his time indoors. Christy knew he couldn't live like this forever. That's when she decided to enlist the help of a specialist named Martin Kaufman. Martin ran a company called OrthoPets, which designed prosthetic limbs for animals. He welcomed Nakio into his office and took detailed measurements of the dog's limbs. Then, after all the measurements were taken, the prosthetics construction began. Martin and his team of experts carefully whittled 4 limbs out of plastic that would remain intact no matter what kind of activity Nakio was engaged in. They also designed specialized pads to attach to the bottoms of the prosthetic to ensure that Nakio could grip any kind of terrain. As a final touch, they painted the limbs with an American flag for some patriotic flair. After all 4 of the limbs were completely attached to Nakio's body, it took him a few minutes to get used to the sensation of walking. Soon enough, however, he was already bouncing out the door. Christy now takes Nakio to the park every day and he loves it. You would never even know that he has prosthetic limbs. He has completely adjusted and it seems like he's forgotten that they're plastic. Christy is so thankful that she came across Nakio many years ago. She had no idea that the technology existed to get him walking and running again. But thanks to Martin Kaufman and his talented team, Nakio can live the rest of his life fully. Christy hopes that Nakio can give faith to other canines who have suffered similar injuries. In fact, he may have inspired another remarkable pooch just a few hundred miles away. In 2016, animal rescue workers made a heartbreaking discovery in a dumpster outside of a South Korean meat farm. As workers sifted through bags of rubbish, they discovered a frightened golden retriever in dire need of help. The poor pup was found with all 4 of her legs tightly bound, so much so that the wire had cut into her skin and exposed her to severe infection. Although doctors were able to save her life, it came at the price of all 4 of her legs. Soon after her operation, a video of the legless retriever went viral, catching the attention of Elizabeth and Richard Howell. The couple knew they had to make her part of the family. One 6,000-mile trip later, the retriever, officially named Chi-Chi, found a forever home with the Howells. However, adjusting to life without legs would be no small task. For the first 6 weeks, Chi-Chi required her limbs to be wrapped in fresh bandages every day. To make matters worse, the prosthetics she'd been given in South Korea didn't fit very well and gave her painful sores. With the help of family and friends, the Howells were able to raise enough money to buy Chi-Chi a set of state-of-the-art prosthetic legs. This time her new appendages fit perfectly. It didn't take long for Chi-Chi to get used to her new legs. And before the Howells knew it, she was racing down the street. Sometimes the other dogs even struggled to keep up. Not only is Chi-Chi back to running, but she's also picked up a job as a therapy dog. When she's not being read to by children at the elementary school, she can be found at the local VA hospital bringing comfort to other amputees. In fact, a woman at the VA who recently had an amputation of her own cites Chi-Chi as her inspiration to persevere. According to the Howells, the woman said that if Chi-Chi can live a happy life with 4 prosthetics, then she could with just 1. Chi-Chi's story has inspired so many that the Howl started a personal Facebook page so that people can interact with her and share their stories as well. Many of the pup's fans compare her story to that of another pet who overcame the odds. When veterinarian Brianna Rosario stumbled across a photo of a sick kitten in need of a forever home, she knew she was up for the task. After all, she had experience with the situation. See, years before, in October of 2016, Brianna became the proud mom of a little gray kitten named Lemon, who had an array of health issues. Not only was he blind, but he also suffered from heart problems. Nevertheless, Brianna was determined to give Lemon the best life possible by providing the care and love that any pet deserves. She even created a bucket list for him and took him out for tons of adventures. Sadly, after only a few months, Lemon truly began to suffer. That's when Brianna had to make the hardest decision a pet parent will ever have to make and agreed to put him to sleep. The following months, she was heartbroken. The only thing that got her through this tough time was the love of her other pets. Brianna had 2 tabby cats named Raja and Deadpool, as well as a Yorkie named Jordan and a pit bull named Letty. It was still a full house. After the loss of Lemon, Brianna still had a kitten-sized hole in her heart. So leap forward to 2018. Miraculously, Brianna spotted that photo of another tiny gray and blind kitten. She heard of the kitten named Rosita, who, as Lemon had been, was in terrible shape. Missing her beloved friend, Brianna knew she could honor Lemon by saving this kitten. On June 1st, 2018, Brianna committed to making the adoption official after a 5-hour drive to Jacksonville to meet Rosita. Secretly, though, the pet lover had some anxiety about their first meeting. Even though I was so excited to meet little Rosita, I was nervous, Brianna explained in an Instagram story. I felt guilty as I didn't want to replace Lemon and didn't want to have any expectations about Rosita. I felt very guarded. However, as soon as she met Rosita, all of that fear slipped away. I knew she wasn't replacing Lemon. Lemon just sent her my way, Brianna wrote. And as a tribute to Lemon, she changed the new kitty's name to Lime. The next day, she announced the adoption on Facebook, saying that while no one could ever replace Lemon, she couldn't wait to continue her journey with Lime by her side. And that journey would hold quite a few surprises. Lime came into Brianna's home confident, brave, playful, and happy. She spent her days drinking from a bottle, becoming familiar with her new environment, and following her new mom around the house as best she could. With her other senses heightened, she was a whole different cat than the 2 tabbies. There is no sneaking around with this little one. When she hears a can of food open, she leaps at it, Brianna said. And you can't leave any food out or Lime will smell it. Despite Lime's strength and courage, there were still a few adjustments to be made. For example, Brianna had to keep everything in the exact same place, so Lime wouldn't bump into anything. She did, however, sleep on the highest spot in the cat tree. Luckily, the other cats didn't see her as a threat, but as a friend. Lime adored her older sisters, Raja and Deadpool, who had been rescued and bottle-fed. However, there was one furry friend she definitely liked the most. Within 2 weeks after moving in, Lime had made a best friend out of Letty the pit bull, to the point where the 2 were absolutely inseparable. Lime loves her sister Letty. Lime loves to chase Letty's tail and play with whatever toy Letty has, Brianna said. Since Letty was so often by Lime's side, it became easier for the kitten to move around by following her BFF. Without any input from Brianna, Letty began acting like a seeing eye dog for the blind cat, and that gave Brianna an idea. She started recording the furry friends together and posted them on social media. I wanted to show how amazing it is to adopt a special needs kitty, she wrote, and to break the stereotypes that dogs and cats can't be best friends. Suddenly, something terrible happened to Letty. She had a slipped disc, which damaged her spinal cord and caused a stroke that led to the inability to move the right side of her body. Letty would recover fast, vets said, but now it was Lime's opportunity to return the care. She played nurse to the dog for weeks, bringing her toys and food, grooming her, and of course snuggling up to her until she was healthy again. These special moments proved to Brianna that adopting Lime was a terrific idea. Lime is just an amazing, loving, playful, funny, confident little fluff, she said. I love her so much that I can't fit it into words. She makes our whole lives full. Both Lemon and Lime demonstrated to Brianna that they can be just as fun and sweet as any other cat without a disability. In fact, they gave her a grand idea that would help and celebrate blind pets all around. She started a non-profit organization that would help rescue disabled or sick pets and give them a new home. It was named Lemonade. In Lemon's memory, of course. It sure wasn't easy, but her efforts were 100% worth it. While Brianna worked actively on the organization, she helped rescue over 70 pets before needing to take some personal time. I will continue to do as much as I can. Maybe in the future I will start over again, the pet mom of 5 suggested. It's obvious that Brianna has a heart of gold when it comes to animals, and she's so happy to have such a beautiful furry family. Whether she will continue Lemonade is still up for question, but she has certainly changed the lives of these kittens. One pet who could have used Lemonade's wonderful services was a 14-year-old farm dog named Turfle, who struggled with his own sensory disabilities. Yet thankfully shares a similar story to Lime's. Turfle's upbringing wasn't a happy one. According to his current owner, Judy Godfrey Brown of Holyhead, North Wales, Turfle's previous owner threw him against a wall as a puppy, which tragically caused him to go partially deaf. It also altered his vision. Life took another unfortunate turn for Turfle when he was 8 years old. Veterinarians spotted cataracts on his eyes, and soon they turned a foggy, milky white. Each day it became more difficult for him to see anything at all. Eventually, the already partially deaf dog couldn't walk through the house without bumping into the furniture and hurting himself. He learned to stay in his dog bed most of the time, so he didn't risk any injuries. This was not an ideal life for a farm dog who needed plenty of exercise to stay healthy. He would have likely slept in his basket for the rest of his life. Judy hadn't gotten a brilliant idea. One day, while Turfle was curled up in his basket, Judy took in a stray cat named Pootatat. He was a very mean cat. He's not very nice to the other cats, Judy told Nat Geo. He will bully the other cats a bit into submission. But while Pootatat may have been a bully to Judy's other cats, he did make one friend at her new residence. Turfle. As unlikely as it seemed, the blind, deaf dog had warmed Pootatat's cold demeanor. Pootatat prefers Turfle to any of the other cats, Judy said. I think he must have known Turfle was blind because he sort of bonded with him straight away, Judy added. I've never seen anything like most cats and dogs hate each other. Judy couldn't say enough about Pootatat's intuition, a sixth sense, as she called it. I think Pootatat must have realized that Turfle was a bit vulnerable, she said. He just seemed to know that there was a need there somehow. Still, this friendship went far beyond just a few late evening snuggles in the shared bed where Turfle and Pootatat slept side by side. Pootatat took on another role entirely in Turfle's life. Pootatat offered Turfle more than friendship. He dedicated his services as a seeing eye cat. Perhaps he took after Judy, who once became a public servant. Either way, the cat wanted to help, and so he became Turfle's crutch and guide. According to Judy, Turfle relied on Pootatat to help him get around and avoid bumping into things. Somehow, through an inexplicable bond, Turfle became more confident with his feline helper around. Make no mistake, this wasn't a case of Turfle making friends with every creature that rubbed up against him. Judy owned 5 other cats before Pootatat, and he didn't show them the same affections. Pootatat and Turfle's relationship was truly unique. So how does the duo get around? He uses his paws to guide, Judy explained. They are glued to each other. Indeed, Pootatat would often lead the blind pooch from his spot on the couch to other parts of the house. He'd even paw open a door or two for him. Still, Pootatat didn't limit himself to helping Turfle avoid bumping into couches, corners, or chairs. The cat also helped Turfle get back to his farm dog roots by guiding his canine friend outdoors, too. It's often when they go out, their nose to tail, with Pootatat in the lead and Turfle following behind him, Judy said. It's lovely to see, especially when you're used to dogs chasing cats. Thanks to Pootatat's guidance, Judy didn't have to take Turfle on walks anymore, a relief in her old age. The cat could open the door and take his buddy outside for some fresh air all by himself. I don't think I've ever seen a dog-cat duo that have got on quite so well as these two, and they relied upon each other in that same way, Judy said. It's tough to think what these fellows' lives might have been like without one another. Without Pootatat in his life, Turfle would have undoubtedly wasted away indoors, and Pootatat would have likely lived a life of solitude with no interest in his feline companions. Thankfully, that wasn't the case.